In Japan, there's a high school boy named Shun, a student who is smarter than average in the capital city. However, because he feels more intelligent than others, he starts to feel bored with life and prays to the gods for a challenge. So, a living doll named Daruma enters Shun's classroom because he and several other gifted students have requested it. Since he almost moves, he almost loses his life in a horrifying way. The method turns out to be through exploding heads. As a result, the other students realize that they have been toyed with by Daruma, where they are not allowed to move while he is watching. So, they stay still and wait for him to turn around. Some of them quickly take the chance to escape, only to find that the door is locked behind them and they cannot leave the room until the game is over. Eventually, they all die. The students begin to despair, but Shun's bespectacled friend named Sadake manages to calm everyone by explaining that they are trapped in a Daruma death game. Daruma will turn around and begin reciting a signature phrase, then turn back again to see if anyone has moved when the sentence ends. Every time Daruma catches a student moving, the student's head explodes, along with thousands of tiny red balls flying everywhere. When it seems that no one can overcome this obstacle, Sadake says that he has a solution. He warns them about a button located on Daruma's back and explains that to win the death game, they must press that button. Another student, desperate to end the terrifying game, takes the chance when Daruma recites the phrase and decides to run toward him. But just as he realizes it, the doll finishes the sentence extremely fast and suddenly turns around, causing the student's head to explode. And finally, he dies. The students get too distracted by the countdown on Daruma's back, so they begin to focus on forming a strategy to defeat him. When they discover that less than 1 minute remains, their desperation intensifies. Because of this, most of them run toward the doll, and with less than 10 seconds left, only Shun and Sadake survive. They conclude that they will have a better chance by working together. So, the glasses-wearing boy crouches and gives Shun a boost to help him jump far. With just 1 second left on the countdown, Shun successfully presses the button on Daruma's back, and the death game ends. Both Shun and Sadake feel overjoyed when Daruma, who just got defeated, announces that there will be no more death games after this one. But as they give each other a thumbs up, suddenly Sadake's head explodes. Then finally, he dies. Shun is the only one who presses the button, so the insane tilted doll declares that Shun is the only one who wins the death game. Shocked by what just happens, Shun begins to call for help. So Daruma breaks the silence and tells him that Shun is a mouse and the cat will come as a hint for the next level. Shun cannot believe what just happens until suddenly a girl named Ichika, Shun's childhood friend, shows up. Trying to help her, Shun approaches and asks her what happens, and Ichika reveals that she also just finishes playing Daruma's death game. But immediately after she presses the button, all of her classmates die. When Shun grabs his phone to call someone, he finds that there is no signal at all. Even so, Shun insists they must report what happens to the authorities and suggests they leave the school. But they find that all doors are locked and the surroundings are indestructible, except for the door leading to the indoor gym, which can be opened. Once again, they cannot escape after the door, they just closes behind them, until they realize that several other students have already gathered there, and some of them wear rat costumes. When Shun gets closer, he sees some Japanese words written on the floor and realizes it is a clue for the next death game, meaning they can only win if they give the bell to the cat. As the time to start the death game draws near, one of the students who is already dressed as a mouse advises everyone else to wear it too, because they don't know what will happen if they don't. Suddenly, a large door under the floor opens and a giant cat statue arrives in the gym. Suddenly again, a piece of music begins to play. Then the giant cat starts to move, and one of the students ends up being eaten alive. When the cat approaches Ichika, the students start to panic and run around. But instead of eating the girl, the cat simply turns and stretches its spring-like neck to eat another student wearing the costume. Shun quickly notices a basketball hoop hanging around the neck of the demonic cat, which helps him understand the message written on the floor. Ichika sees a bell rolling on the floor and tells Shun about it. After Shun finishes pointing it out, a basketball team student approaches Ichika, and asks her to pass the object. At that moment, the basketball guy throws it toward the hoop. Despite having very accurate aim, the cat blocks the shot and throws the ball back at him, slamming the boy into the wall, and finally he dies. The cat then turns his attention straight to Shun, but the doll doesn't bother to attack him and instead chases the others wearing costumes. From this, Shun concludes that the cat is actually hunting mice, and he advises the other students to remove their disguises. But just when everyone starts to feel safe, the cat starts to move again and continues to try to eat everyone. As the students race across the gym in desperation, one of them, Ichika, stumbles and falls beside the bell, making her realize that they only have 3 minutes left. At that exact moment, the cat walks toward Ichika and opens his huge mouth to devour her. But just when the cat is about to eat her, Shun appears in front of it, wearing the mouse costume, and successfully distracts it. Shun shouts for someone to throw the bell while he runs around the cat in every direction. But because everyone is afraid of ending up like the basketball guy, they all refuse. Because he is now wearing the costume with the big ears, Shun begins to hear strange voices and finally realizes that he can understand what the cat wants to say. Shun listens closely and realizes that the cat feels itchy on his back and wants someone to scratch it so he can rest. So Shun runs to the cat's back, jumps up, grabs the rope, and starts scratching the cat, and eventually the cat begins to enjoy it. As a result, the cat seems to enjoy it and immediately stops trying to attack Shun, instead asking him to scratch more firmly. Realizing that it is not enough, Shun asks for help from the other students, and Ichika quickly joins him. As soon as Ichika starts scratching, the other students also approach the cat's back, and they all collaborate to make the cat fall asleep. Shun then picks up the bell from the floor and prepares to throw it while the other students get closer. They begin to argue about who should throw the bell, because they fear only the one who throws it will survive. The cat eventually gets startled by their noisy argument and slashes 2 students with his sharp claws. They both die with their bodies completely mangled. Shun makes a plan and decides to take a damaged basketball to the locker room. He also asks Ichika to come with him and carry the bell. In no time, they both come out again, holding the ball and the bell, both hidden inside their mouse costumes. They move forward on opposite sides, confusing the cat as to which throw to block. While approaching the cat, Shun announces to everyone that he is the one holding the ball, prompting the cat to prepare to block Ichika's throw. But this is all pre-planned and part of their strategy, because in truth, Shun hides the bell inside the torn ball and then throws it at the cat in an attempt to defeat him. Unfortunately, he misses the target and the bell bounces back into the air. At the moment when everyone believes they are doomed, suddenly a strong student jumps from above the cat and dunks the ball into the hoop. And finally, the cat dies. That strong student is named Takeru, and Shun and Ichika are declared winners by the cat, who briefly comes back to life before he fully dies. When Shun doesn't hear the names of the other students, he grows worried about what might have happened to them, until he sees that Takeru has eliminated them using a metal bar. Takeru walks toward the 2 of them and tells Shun that they are the only ones worthy of living because only they are chosen by the gods. Ichika, after hearing this, tells Takeru that he's insane and that he shouldn't compare himself to Shun. But Takeru finds this bothersome and moves closer to Ichika, causing Shun to pull her away. At that moment, the cat starts releasing a huge amount of gas, and all 3 of them faint instantly. People all around the world have already noticed the issue, and news begins covering the disappearance of young people and the sudden appearance of floating cubes, which randomly show up, causing widespread concern. Inside one of these cubes, Shun wakes up and is shocked to see his former classmate Shoko, who transferred out of Shun's school several years ago. Shun realizes that aside from Shoko, there are 2 other students in this room who have also survived the Daruma and cat death games at their respective schools. After meeting his companions, Shun realizes that all the students in the room have family names starting with the letter T, so he assumes that there must be other rooms where the death game organizers separate the players based on alphabetical order. Shun tries to exit the room, but it is locked. Therefore, he starts knocking on the door, hoping someone hears him. But he is interrupted by a boy a brilliant but arrogant student. The arrogant one then claims that no one will come to help them and activates a hologram showing reports about the cubes around the world, revealing that they are trapped inside the cubes and have no choice but to wait for the next death game assigned to them. At that moment, someone starts knocking on the door, and somehow it opens, revealing 4 floating statues that come inside. Upon entering the room, one of the 4 statues extends an invitation to the arrogant boy to play. As a student who radiates overflowing confidence, he accepts the invitation without hesitation. After the first player is selected, the statues give a little more information about the death game and reveal that he will take part in a traditional game, where one player is chosen to sit blindfolded in the center. Once the player is in position, the statues will start circling around him while singing. After they finish, the player will have 10 seconds to figure out who is behind him and must say the name of the statue. If the player makes a mistake, he will be eliminated in a glorious way. The arrogant boy assumes this is easy, so he closes his eyes and sits calmly on the floor. But as soon as the statue stops singing, he begins to panic and ends up making a mistake. As punishment, one of the statues opens his eyes and fires a beam of light, gaining control over the arrogant student's body. This causes him to repeatedly slam his head against the floor, and finally he dies. After the statues defeat the first player, they invite a girl to participate in the death game, but she refuses out of fear. So, one of the statues tells the girl that she will be immediately disqualified, and finally, she agrees to play. The girl becomes extremely anxious about guessing the wrong statue, and when her turn comes, she wastes the full 10 seconds and loses the game. The girl tries to run away in shock, but the statues quickly move toward her and direct a beam to her head as she flees. However, unlike what they did to the arrogant boy, this time the statues each grab one of her legs and pull her in opposite directions. And finally, she dies with her body torn in half. After defeating the girl, the statues challenge Shoko to play. But seeing her condition, Shun believes that his friend won't make it, so he offers to play in her place. Now, blindfolded, Shun moves to the center of the room and sits attentively, listening to the statues sing. But when it's time for Shun to guess who is behind him, he takes too long, and one of the statues announces that the death game is over because the time has run out. At that moment, Shun shouts out a name to guess which statue is behind him, but the statues insist that the time is already up. However, Shun points out that he has recorded everything, and they actually stopped the challenge 6 seconds after the time limit was announced, meaning he still has time left to answer. The statues ask Shun how he can guess correctly, and he tells them that in the previous 2 rounds, they maintained the same formation, and it was the same statue that always announces the end. All Shun needs to do is sit and listen to the statues make a certain statement so he can figure out each of their positions. When he successfully guesses the statue behind him in less than 10 seconds, the statues crumble into dust, and they are finally gone. After completing the death game, Shun and Shoko receive a key item from the statues and bring it out of the room. However, as soon as they come out, they find a student who also holds a key and is being chased by another statue. Feeling desperate, the student tells them that the statue follows gamers who are alone and begs them to hold hands. The statue approaches, and after confirming that Shun and the others are indeed a group of 3, it leaves to search for another lone gamer, allowing Shun and his group to keep both keys. They move through the cube's corridors when they hear something and run toward the screams, until they soon realize that the voice comes from Ichika, who is being chased by the same statue. In an attempt to save his friend, Shun leaps toward Ichika and manages to grab her before the statue catches her. 2 other students find a large wooden head embedded in the wall of the next corridor. The head has a countdown on its forehead and 7 holes where keys can be inserted. After Shun and the others meet the 2 students and count the keys, they learn that they have a total of 4 keys, meaning 3 more remain. They have just over 2 minutes to find the remaining keys, but hope begins to fade as time ticks on. At that moment, someone throws 3 keys at their feet, and soon after, Tukaru appears while dragging another student, whom he uses as a shield to avoid the statue. Since there's now 1 person too many, Takuru decides to snap the student's neck, and finally, the student dies. Takuru then offers to join Shun and the others, since they need the keys to proceed to the next challenge. After Takuru joins, the students insert the 7 keys into the wooden head, unlocking access to the next level. At this point, the giant head instructs them to change their clothes before disappearing, and leave behind a tunnel they must enter to reach the next level. In a snowy new location, Shun and his group realize that the ground is shaking, and they quickly learn that the source of the tremor is a giant polar bear performing snowboarding tricks. The bear announces that he doesn't like lies, so the next Death Game challenge is to answer the bear's questions honestly. The bear then warns Shun and the others that if anyone lies, the group must choose who they believe a liar is. After laying out the basic rules, the bear asks everyone about their favorite food. At this point, everyone breathes a sigh of relief, thinking that this death game will be easy. But after they finish answering, the bear starts sniffing and declares that he has detected a lie. Because they just broke the only rule of the death game, the polar bear gives them a 2-minute countdown and allows them to choose who they believe is the liar. After 1 minute, most gamers point to one of the boys, so the bear crushes the boy's body, and finally he dies. After eliminating the first gamer, the bear moves to the next question and asks whether they like Shun or not. Ichika and Shoko admit that they like Shun, and surprisingly, Takuro also says that he likes him, which horrifies Shun.
Yes.
After everyone answers, the bear declares that one of them has lied. Ichika immediately accuses Takuro, saying that earlier he tried to eliminate them. During their argument, Shun asks the bear why someone would lie, even knowing it could cost their life, and the bear laughs, saying that Shun has finally figured it out. The bear then explains that one of the traitors is among them, pretending to be human and lying in order to defeat them. Upon hearing this, the 2 students from another school quickly conclude that the traitor might be Shoko, since the 3 of them are from the same school. Their reason is that the 2 students had known the other gamers before this challenge began and traveled together to various death game locations, except for Shoko. Ichika and Shun immediately try to defend Shoko after hearing the accusation against her, but the others ignore them and accuse Shoko of being the liar at the final moment, and finally she dies. The bear prepares to ask the next question when Shun interrupts, insisting that he now knows who the real liar is. The claim intrigues the bear, so he pauses to listen, and is ultimately shocked when Shun accuses him of lying. Shun then says that Shoko had helped him uncover the truth, and tells the bear that Shoko's blood has erased the white paint from the bear's paw, revealing that the polar bear is actually a black bear, and he lied about his color. Shun concludes that he now believes everything else the bear says is a lie, and that the bear tried to destroy them by making them believe a traitor was among them. The demonic bear becomes furious that someone has discovered his secret and immediately begins attacking Shun and the others. He also tries to crush them by leaping on top of them, but he fails to hit his target and ends up falling into a hot spring, which causes his white paint to melt. After that, the bear admits defeat and gives the surviving gamers a clue about how to proceed to the next death game level. And finally, the bear is gone. When the students arrive at the new location, they are greeted by a set of statues who inform them that the death game known as Kick the Can will be the final level they must face. One of the gamers will be chosen to act as the devil in this hide-and-seek themed death game. The devil's task is to search for the other gamers. But before starting the hunt, the devil must retrieve a can placed on a high platform and place it in the center of a circle drawn on the ground. If the other gamers want to win, they must find a hiding spot while the devil retrieves the can, and then stay hidden until sunset. On the other hand, for the devil to win, after placing the can in the center of the circle, he must find all the gamers, capture them, place them in a prison, and then stomp on the can. The statues then explain that there is still a chance for captured gamers to be rescued, if one of the remaining players can kick the can. By doing so, that gamer could defeat the devil and free all prisoners from the prison. However, according to the statues, the can is fitted with some kind of explosive that will detonate once it is kicked, indicating that the gamer will automatically die if they kick the can in an attempt to save their friends. After the statues finish explaining the rules of the game, one of them pulls several sticks from its mouth to decide who will play the role of the devil. It turns out that Takeru is chosen as the devil, which shocks everyone. The final level of the death game begins, and Takeru wastes no time by kicking one of them toward the can, causing it to fall, which forces the others to quickly run and hide. After he retrieves the can, he moves it to the center of a circle and begins searching for the remaining gamers until he finds two students from another school. In desperation to save themselves, both of them try to fight Takeru once he finds their hiding spot. However, the young man is incredibly strong, so even though they fight him 2 versus 1, they still lose, and eventually they are imprisoned. Not long after that, from a distance, Ichika sees Takeru stomp on the can, but she ends up being careless and gets spotted by him. Shun, realizing that Takeru is in pursuit, ties himself to a large object and begins rappelling down the building. Takeru rushes to where he saw Ichika and starts pounding on the door. But the girl, fully aware that she and Shun won't be able to escape together, decides to buy time by delaying Takeru's search, and eventually Ichika collapses in front of Takeru. He then continues searching for Shun, but all he finds is the rope Shun used to descend to the lower level. Shun knows that Takeru will keep watch over the can, so he starts running around the area, looking for a new hiding spot. Guessing that Shun won't show up, Takeru says that he has already captured 3 people in an attempt to convince Shun that he won't catch him, hoping the 2 of them can become friends and survive together. But Shun, knowing that Takeru is lying, begins searching for something useful until he finds a suit of armor. As the sun starts to set, Shun comes out of hiding wearing the armor to protect his body while kicking the can. But the problem is that the armor is very heavy and limits his movement, making Shun look awkward in front of Takeru, and he ends up dropping his sword. This causes him to get stuck and completely helpless at the edge. So Takeru takes advantage of the situation by removing Shun's helmet while mocking his plan. Takeru then approaches the can again, but strangely, he doesn't reach it. It turns out that Shun has captured Takeru with a chain when Takeru removed his helmet. Shun reveals that he had prepared the chain while in hiding, which prevents Takeru from reaching the can. And when it becomes clear that Takeru can no longer win, Shun throws himself into the water, dragging Takeru down as well. Takeru struggles hard to avoid falling with Shun, and while he is busy trying to loosen the chain, Shun waits until he touches the water before removing the armor and climbing back up the wall. This gives him the freedom to walk toward the can, while Takeru is still tangled up in the chain. Even though Shun is extremely exhausted when he returns to land, he still manages to gather the strength to run toward the can. At this moment, Takeru manages to lift off the armor and frees himself to rush toward the can. But despite his best efforts, Shun reaches the can first and kicks it, finally freeing his friends. Shun and Takeru quickly try to protect themselves from the explosion, but after several seconds, there is no sign of any blast. Right then, the sky darkens, and the statues return to announce that Shun has won the death game. They also reveal that they lied about the explosion to make the game more thrilling, causing Takeru to become furious when he realizes he will be eliminated, feeling disgusted by his defeat. The statues hand out popsicles to each of them as a reward for making it this far and instruct them to eat it before they are allowed to leave the room. After finishing all the death games, Shun calmly bites into his popsicle while chatting with Ichika about their future plans. After talking with Ichika for a while, Shun looks at his popsicle stick and notices something written on it. He thinks it's a prize, but when he looks at Ichika, Shun sees that Ichika is crying and finds out that the stick she's holding says, "You're eliminated." At this moment, the statues explain that although each challenge required different skills, one thing they truly needed to win was luck in the end. They then explain that each gamer's fate is written inside their popsicle, and Ichika's, just like the others, has a message of elimination, except Takeru, who is also safe like Shun. Ichika and the 2 other students are shocked when one of the statues appears right when their fate is sealed. The statue fires a laser at their bodies, and they are gone. After Takeru and Shun successfully complete the final level, they are transported into one of the floating cubes above the capital city. When the rest of the population learns that the two students survive, they begin worshipping them, and eventually everyone refers to them as children of the gods. As a result, Takeru feels overjoyed, but not Shun, who feels sorrow for losing his friends. As the God's Will movie ends, with one of the statues appearing to inform Shun and Takeru that a guest wants to meet them, as it turns out to be the god himself. And finally, Shun meets the game master behind all the death games. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notification so you don't miss the latest recaps. Thanks for watching and wish you good health.